Bullet Train is like taking cocaine. It's a rush, everything around you feels fast as fuck, and apparently it's incredible. From the person who's never taken cocaine before. So I have this movie as an alternative instead. Bullet Train is fucking fast-paced. Immediately when you get into the movie, it doesn't waste any time. Boom, 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 boom. 10 people are already dead and you already missed it because you were too busy trying to find the drink you came in with. This movie is definitely one of those movies where you cannot look away or you miss like 10 key components of information, which is really cool but can also lead to moments being really fucking confusing. If you went to the bathroom for like 1 second and then came back 2 minutes later and you're already confused as to why a poisonous snake is roaming around. Fortunately, I was not one of those poor souls, but fucking hell, bless those fucking poor souls who missed like 10 seconds of footage because they would have needed it. The film is directed by the same people who directed the Deadpool movies, and at times those moments are pretty fucking obvious that there are moments of Deadpoolness to it, like some fourth wall breaks, and those moments weren't great. Because it just reminded me of the obnoxiousness of the Deadpool movies, but guess what, it doesn't fucking matter, because before you can even think about one bad joke, 10 more funny jokes come along at rapid fire pace. Now usually, as many people know from my channel, I have no sense of humor. I know, it's pretty fucking shocking. But the comedy in this movie is just too charming for me to not laugh at. There is one character who literally defines other characters' personalities based on what Thomas the Tank Engine character they are. And I'm sorry for laughing at that, but if a British person defines another character as, and I quote, a proper diesel, then I'm fucking laughing hard in that cinema. The comedy in this movie is great, and while I admit the comedy isn't for everyone, I feel like most audiences will get at least a few laughs from this movie. But before I go on sucking this movie off any further, I do have to be a mean old critic man and talk about the negatives. Don't worry about spoilers. If I think I'll be talking about something with spoilers in it, the sound and a time code will pop up on screen. Oh, that's a fucking awful sound. And it'll tell you a time code to show you when the spoiler ends. So let's go! The one thing I really didn't like about this movie is the relationship between the two old guys. The whole third act pretty much revolves around them, yet I simply don't care about the two of them. Sure, their backstories are explained, but the whole backstory is just about some generic revenge backstory that I don't care about. The person who got killed in the backstory isn't developed enough, so I don't care about her either. The two old dudes aren't developed enough character-wise for me to care about them. Also, plot hole, if the White Death knew that his son was going to die, why the fuck did he play along with the assassins pretending that his son was alive? Also, the White Death's plan is kinda dumb. He expects the ladybug to grab the suitcase, so when Lemon comes looking for it, he'll also bank on Tangerine to come over to look for it too. And while that happens, the girl who can poisons the son just in time. That is way too overly complicated for just killing one dude, and banks on so many events to successfully happen. But anyway, those two characters aren't developed enough for you to care about them. They just exist for the ending to happen. I also thought the ending for this movie was fine. It felt a bit messy in my opinion, and got way too outlandishly unrealistic. I mean, this movie was unrealistic before, but that's because its story established that this movie was a bit exaggerated in parts. But in the final act, it is just a bit contrived at parts, and is a lot more unrealistic than it ever had been throughout the movie. Like a bullet train going off the rails, which leads to it crashing, conveniently everyone survives, and the main character who got knocked out the window lives, and comes through with a car to kill her just as she's right about to kill them. The acting from everyone becomes a little less convincing too, especially during a character death where one of the characters are grieving. It just doesn't convince me that they care for each other. Instead, it feels like the guy had just broken his arm instead of killing his friend. Although I do love the jokes about how a deadly assassin only has one antidote for her poisons just in case. The little things like that kind of make me smile. A snake literally got out of its cage, and you wonder when it will be used, like a Chekhov's gun moment, except it's more of a Chekhov snake. And all the snake is used for is just a joke, and I gotta admit, it was pretty funny, although it kind of felt a bit underwhelming. That's all the snake was really used for. Anyway, spoilers over. I really loved the movie's cinematography. It really helped emphasize this movie's extremely fast pace. And holy shit, I'm getting tired from talking this much, so I'm gonna slow down a bit. What made it even better is the lack of cuts on the movie's part. It really helped me get immersed in the fight scenes and made me love the movie that much more. However, by far the best thing about this movie is the amount of callbacks this movie makes. If there is an object used in the movie, it's likely that it's going to be important later on in the movie, or it's going to be mentioned by one of the characters. One of the main callbacks was a fucking water bottle, and how important it was to the plot. A lot of points were funny because you knew what was going to happen from an earlier scene of a character doing something with the said object, and almost every time it feels super satisfying when they bring that object back for later. It just makes the movie feel that much more tighter of an experience, if you get what I mean. This movie is also extremely violent, and to give a scale on how violent it is, I would say it's right behind The Boys in terms of violence, so yeah, I wouldn't recommend watching this with your family or anything. Surprisingly, the actors genuinely did mostly a great job. Even Joey King, who I didn't expect to be good, was actually pretty solid. She wasn't great or anything, but she was still pretty decent, and to be honest, I'll take that over her acting in those awful horror movies, or, The Kissing Booth, or, the other Kissing Booth movies. Although, I think my favorite characters in the whole movie would have to be Lemon and Tangerine. Their witty back and forth dialogue just makes their interactions so enjoyable, and if they had a movie dedicated to them, I would be thoroughly entertained the whole way through. Karen Fukuhara also makes a few appearances throughout the movie. However, despite her playing Kimiko in The Boys, she isn't really in the movie, which personally made me sad since I really like her actress, and I think she really needs to be in more stuff. And one last kind of spoily criticism I have, so take your time, skip to the time code here to skip it, and I'll just be here for a few seconds so you can skip it. Guys, enjoying your day? Is everyone caught up? Are we ready to go to not be spoiled? Okay, cool. I kind of hate how the main villain was like, yeah, I booked all the tickets on that bullet train. The only people on there are the assassins. But that's a fucking lie. You lied to them. There are multiple civilians throughout the movie that even interact with the main characters throughout the movie. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to rewatch the movie again to see whether or not he meant that in a different context. But I'm pretty sure he said that in the context I'm thinking of. But if you guys are on the fence about seeing this movie, don't be. This movie is exactly the right type of blockbuster for you to see for a summer blockbuster. It's fun, fast-paced, filled with excessive violence, and has great action. The style of this movie reminded me of a Tarantino-esque vibe, or maybe even an Edgar Wright vibe to it. I don't know, but whoever did the cinematography and fight choreography for the movie deserves a fucking raise, because they knocked it out of the fucking park for this movie. I'm just kidding, of course I know who the fight choreographers were. They're the people from the John Wick movies, I know, don't fucking rave about it in the comments. So, overall, despite Bullet Train's problems, I still had a lot of fun with the movie, and it's kind of hard not to hate it. So without further wait, I'm going to give Bullet Train, or Bullet Tristan, as they like to refer to it on IMDb, a 7.5 out of 10. It's just such a fun time, and you should see it as soon as possible. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you all next time. Bye guys.